Oh, y'all thought I wasn't coming back. Y'all said, damn, it's been a minute, huh? But guess what? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Grown Up Podcast, where you already know what we do. What do? We talk about that grown up shit. We talk about life. We talk about everything here on the podcast, conversations that we should be having, opinions that should be shared, perspectives that should be shared and heard. And we also support the independent movement right here on the Grown Up Podcast, whether you're an independent artist, an author, a life coach, independent business owner, whatever it is independently that you do, we support it here on the Grown Up Podcast because I know how hard it is to be independent, y'all. It's tough. And so when you show your face and say, hey, I'm independent, you're independent, let's support each other and support everyone else as well in the process, it kind of, resonates with a lot of people. So yeah, that's what we do here on the Grown Up Podcast. And before we get into the episode, I have a couple announcements for you guys. So first things first, I'm the realist. No, I was playing. First things first, please make sure you're checking out That's Not Canon Productions. They are the independent production company that I'm signed with, and we are constantly always adding new independent podcasts. And if you need help with any independent podcasting resources and things like that, ding ding ding, this is the first one that I present to you guys. That's Not Canon Productions. They've been amazing, do cross promos, all of that stuff. So if you guys have already started your podcast or looking to start one more of in a really professional realm, check out that'snotcanon.com. Don't forget to also check out the independent podcasters that are already on there. Add to your, podcasting library, and please just make sure you're supporting independent people. It's tough out here, and we need to know that you're there for us. You know what I mean? So make sure you're streaming those podcasts, okay? And secondly, please, the That's Not Canon website will be in the description below. But what will also be in the description below will be my Beacons website link. So my Beacons website link is where I have all of these podcast resources that I've been mentioning. I know it's been a while since I dropped an episode, but previously I was mentioning podcast resources that I was going to introduce to you guys that was going to help you guys, whether you are trying to get started with podcasting, you've already gotten started, you may be stuck in the rut, so you're trying to look for resources that can help you, go through your mind and say, hey, this is an avenue that I might want to try, or whatever may have you. So I found a couple of these resources. They are on my Beacons website. You click on it, you scroll down, you'll see a link for Skillshare, Alitu, Alivsoft, and Squadcast, and Fiverr. And so each of these websites, they offer something very different, but very much tied into podcasting. Now, Skillshare is a separate entity of itself, right? So Skillshare is more of, you want to be a student, you want to learn some things, and you don't really want to go to college for it. You don't really, you're looking for something online and you're looking for something quick, So Skillshare, you go on there, you scroll through, you see they have over 100 lists of classes that you can take that'll show you the way on whatever type of creative avenue that you want to go into. So, but all the other ones are definitely podcasts specifically related, and hopefully looking to add maybe a couple more resources for you guys. But for now, please just go ahead and check those links out. They are on my Beacons website, which will be in the description below. All right. So now that we got all the logistics and everything out of the way, how y'all doing, Grown Up family? I know it's been a minute. Y'all thought I might have fell off. Y'all thought, damn, just when we was getting into a good podcast, he's gone. No, I'm not gone. So what has happened to me? So the last time we spoke, I was essentially just getting settled into a new job. I was getting settled into starting school, and I was just trying to figure all of that out with adding in the podcast as well. And being independent is a struggle. It's an up and down. It's a very much like you have to have faith in yourself, and you have to have faith in whatever higher power that you believe in, because it's not only going to take just having faith in yourself and making the right moves and the right decisions to, get to where you want to go. And the only reason I say that is because so many blessings have been happening lately, not just for myself, but for people around me as well. And I feed off of, watching other people in their journey and seeing what they are doing and how they're moving, and studying what they do to get to where they go, so I can see if I'm doing some of those things. And so, someone that I do study quite frequently, just had something amazing happen to them. And it was just like, wow, like if I stay my course and, push through this stress and having so much on my plate, and, just this hard time of a character build right now, because I really feel as though I'm in this transitional period. And if you're following me on Instagram, on the podcast Instagram, you would have seen I posted, and I know it's Monday, so it's not the weekend anymore. But I had a whole other episode that I was going to do for the weekend, and then things kind of got off course, but it's all right. Still can always drop an episode. And so anyways, so it's just I've been trying to stay my course, essentially, right? Trying to not worry about the stress and not worry about all of the things that come within this transitional part of my journey. And it's also a transitional part for the podcast, because podcast is getting a lot of traction, and a lot of artists are starting to reach back out. Shout out to my assistant. I love this dude. He's dope, man. And, he's really been helping me kind of form the podcast into the business realm that I really want to form it into, because this is my baby. This is my business. I podcast because I love it, because this is something that I want to do for the rest of my life. I love giving people the opportunity to be on the podcast, to speak their perspectives, and, just to be that avenue for people who feel like, oh, I'm not a celebrity or whatever, so I don't really have much to say, and it's not something that should be heard. And it's like, no, and like I've said previously, I felt like my voice wasn't something that needed to be heard. And so I always kept my mouth closed. I would never really give my opinion on anything or my perspective on anything. But then I started to realize that I'm not doing that situation any justice by keeping my mouth closed, and, the saying is closed mouth doesn't get fed. But I say closed mouth doesn't change the situation, and that's low key off the top of the dome. But yeah, closed mouth doesn't change the situation. If you see something, you should say something. And that whole see something, say something, more when you hear that phrase, it more applies to something negative, so like if you see someone stealing or whatever the case may be. But it doesn't really have to apply to something so negative, right? It could be anything. It could be something as small as you see your two friends in your friend circle kind of disagreeing over something that you can see clearly wasn't a disagreement, or whatever the case may be. And yeah, they may not want you in the situation, but just to resolve the energy and just to have one person step up and just say, hey, this is what I saw, this is what happened. Sometimes an outside person can really put something into perspective. And that's what I think is very important about this podcast, is that having outside people come in and say their opinions and stuff like that, and exchanging that debate gives a really good perspective, not only for me, but for you guys, for them. And, it just creates this really dope vibe, this really dope conversation here on the podcast. And so, I've been really trying to figure out how to balance all of that with school. I'm just ending school now, finally going into my last couple modules. And so it's been a roller coaster the first semester, but I've gotten through it and it's been really awesome. I've already met some cool college friends and stuff like that. And even though I'm not actually physically on campus, it's still, I still feel like I'm a part of, I'm a part of everything that's going on. So, but yeah, it's been fun. I've been just really, really consumed with a ton of work, and, I'm working, I'm supposed to be working part-time, but I'm working full-time hours right now. And so I'm really just trying to figure it all out. I just kind of got my schedule switched. So I have some free time, which is really dope, but I'm trying to figure out how to manage my free time wisely, right? Because when I have free time, I'm like, damn, I got to use this free time to get some money. I don't know if anyone else is like that, but that's how my brain works. Like, I'm like, okay, I got free time. How can I make some money right now? And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's kind of bad because, I don't really ever think about anything else, like relaxing, taking a nap, just thinking about maybe a vacation or doing something for myself or whatever. No, it's always like, okay, I got some free time. I got a couple minutes or I got a couple hours. Like, how can I make some money? And I think a lot of that is because of, inflation right now, obviously, and just everything feeling so expensive. Go to the grocery store, go shopping. The bill is now at least 2 times what it was before. And, just trying to keep up with everything. It's just like, damn, any free time I got, I'm just like, how can I make some money? And it's really obviously taking up the rest of my thought process for everything else, with podcasting, with school and all this stuff. And so I really just been working on myself and trying to figure out where that healthy balance is, between school, podcasts, my life, and all these extra things that come along. And the big word that comes to mind that I am also practicing is boundaries, because with having such a large plate, because I'm hungry and I like to eat, so I put all these things on my plate. But with having such a large plate means that I need and really, 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 really have to hone in on boundaries. I have to be able to say, no, I can't do this today, or no, I can't do that today. And that is the next part of my life, my journey, this transition that I'm learning is boundaries. Being able to say, hey, no, I can't do that. I have to go do homework. Or, hey, no, I can't do that. I have to focus on my podcast. Or, hey, no, I can't do that because I have to go to work. And that FOMO immediately kicks in when I say no, like immediately. And I know that's part of the journey. I know that saying no, having boundaries, missing out on certain things, it's a part of the journey because there's something greater in the works and that I need to build up for, because this time, obviously, through this journey, through this success is where I'm building myself. And so when I get to where I should be, not where because I don't know where I need to go. Only God knows that. So God knows where I should be, and when I get to where I should be, I'm going to be prepared because I actually endured these parts. I was able to set boundaries. I was able to become okay with saying no and to doing this and to doing that. And so now I'm set for where I'm at. And I can say all these things here on the podcast, but after I hit stop, I have to remember all of these and constantly on a daily work on them. And I feel like my journey keeps getting stretched just a little bit more because there are certain things that I need to hone in on more and I need to work on more, which is why I've come to the conclusion of dropping one episode a month for the podcast. And the reason why I came to that conclusion is because within setting these boundaries and within, saying no and all this stuff, I also need to know when to tell myself, hey, you might be doing a little too much as well, and telling myself no. Like, I was trying to put out an episode every single week because I'm like, okay, if I put out an episode every single week, then that means, people are really going to tune in, or, the streams are going to go up. And it's like, no, no, not really. It's more so about the quality, right? Instead of the quantity. I was pushing out episodes for these past, 2 years or so before all of this kind of things, my life essentially kind of turned upside down. But I was pushing out episodes for close to 2 years. And, it's funny because I could compare, and say, hey, I was pushing out for 2 years and this is how much the streams were. And now I'm about to change up and do one episode a month and look and see, quantity over quality, and it's crazy because I always had this feeling when I was pumping out those episodes of like, are these good episodes? Are these quality episodes? And something that I was constantly researching about, podcasting episodes. And I think this is completely not with what I was going to talk about today, but here we go. We're going to talk about this. So what I was researching was that, podcasts, you need to offer something. People aren't really going to tune in if you're not really offering anything, right? And so what I was offering was quantity. And although people tuned in and said, hey, yeah, this podcast is dope, I really love what you're talking about and all of this stuff, it wasn't the quantity of people saying that, if that makes sense. Like, the quantity of episodes versus the quantity of people that were saying that they were interested in tuning in wasn't a lot, right? So it was a lot of episodes, but not a lot of people saying that they were good episodes. So now I'm like, put out a quality episode, right? Put out a quality episode, something that's really meaningful, something that makes sense to you, something that feels good inside of you, and push that out, right? So, and now it's more like with actually these interviews more so, and I'm switching up things for the regular episodes, but we'll get into that when I start getting there. But so for the interviews, it's like I've started to kind of switch up my interviews and kind of dig a little bit deeper, asking kind of different questions, and people are like, wow, those interviews are really dope. And so I have to figure out how to incorporate what I'm doing with the interviews into my regular podcast episodes to now make quality episodes instead of quantity episodes. So that's why now you're hearing from me now one time from this month in the middle of the month. And I'll be posting one episode a month for a little while. I don't know how long I'll be doing this for, but I'm doing it not only for myself, but for my mental, for me setting boundaries and learning that, for me really trying to make this podcast what I know it can be. Because I always think about my podcast, I always think about it. I always envision that I have different people, different perspectives, regular folks talking about the things that, the experiences that they have, because I listen to regular people talk about their experiences all the time, and it's so interesting if we just stop talking and we just listen to people. The other day at work, and I'm actually going to I was going to talk about my job today, but I guess this is more of another update sort of episode and kind of reflection. And then I'll talk about my job on a different episode, maybe. But the other day at my job, I was talking to a lady, and she came in with her child, and it was a baby. And the baby, I'm assuming the baby needed to be seen. And she seen the interaction that I was having with my coworker. And she said, wow, I miss like adult interaction. And I was like, that is so interesting. It's something that you don't think about. Some people, and I know for myself as well, I've thought about kids for a long time. Even when I was a child, I was like, I want to have kids. And a kid having kids, right? and to this day, I'm still like, I want to have kids. I want to have my own family. But hearing that, from a different perspective of someone else, and not even knowing her story, or, I didn't ask how many kids she had, or, I didn't go into depth in anything like that. But, just hearing that simple sentence, I miss adult interaction. It was like, wow, that's so interesting that we don't think about that, right? Because when we start having kids, we're into the kids now. We're in the kids world. And, what is really being an adult? An adult is a freaking large kid. But, there's so much more freedoms of what we can do as an adult, because we've learned all these things now, and we're out in the world figuring it out ourselves. And it's great to just interact with someone who's also doing the same thing, right? Instead of telling a child who's essentially a blank sheet of paper, and having to tell them things, having to write things in. No, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. Yes, you can do this. This is the best that you should do this, and adult interaction is just like, okay, our paper is not only filled with our parents and everything that they said, and grandparents and all those other influences, but it's also ourselves. And we're like extra writings on our paper and writing everywhere. And, it's kind of like looking at each other's papers like, hey, I have that. Hey, I have that too. How did you figure that out? How did you figure this out? How did you figure that out? And that's how I envisioned it in my mind when she was like, I miss adult interaction. And that was just a really interesting statement that she made that made me really think. And it was just like, it didn't make me think like, oh, damn, I don't want to have kids anymore. But it really made me think about, just how people view life differently. And, I love that I have this podcast to share different type of perspectives, because I'm not sure if anyone else has ever heard that before, and like, if you hear that, just know that that person that's a low key, like, cry for some interaction right there. It's a low key cry for help. It's, an expression of just trying to say, hey, I want some perspective right now. And, we talked for a bit, and, like, so it was cool. And she was really cool. But yeah, that's kind of like, it's dope that, my job gives me that opportunity. And I definitely want to discuss my job here, because there's a lot of things that I want to talk about. I kind of got the okay from my soup. So yeah, it's, I work as a security for the healthcare, facility, and it's quite interesting, not just, the hospital itself, but the people that come to the hospital, so that's a whole nother conversation. I was actually going to touch on it today, but we ended up talking about more of my update of what I got going on. So anyways, yeah, just these interactions with people, changing or exchanging perspectives, and different ideas. It really helps me also with the podcast as well, because then my mind starts churning like, hey, okay, like, oh, this is a good topic, that's a good topic, oh, I should talk about this, okay, maybe I should go into this a little bit more. And and like I said, this is a transitional part for the podcast, so I've really been building up some really great episode ideas that are quality rather than trying to go for quantity. And so it's really making me shift kind of the podcast, how I'm doing things. And, now I have an assistant, like I said, he's really helping me with the logistics side of the Now segment. I'm hopefully going to get the Now logo trademarked because I'm really trying to make the podcast a business. This is like I said, it's my baby, it's my business, it's what I do. Supporting independent people, supporting independent artists. It's been a journey. I love that the artists are reaching out to me saying that they love this idea, that they can't wait to be a part of it. So, 2023, you guys, I got a whole new banging set of independent artists that I am, setting up for 2023. And I'm so excited. I love this podcast. It's really giving me the opportunity to be me, be open and allow others to come in and see that openness and, accept that and say, hey, this is something that I want to be a part of. And, I appreciate everyone who reaches out to me and not only either says that they love the podcast, but also want to be on the podcast. Excuse me. And, I have so many things planned for the podcast. I'm connecting with people all over the world, and it's been such an amazing experience, such an amazing journey. And, shout out to my pops. He makes me realize and understand that I am connecting with people, in different countries and, getting these people's voices heard all over the world. And it's such an incredible feeling that I can't even really put into words. And it almost doesn't even feel like I'm doing it sometimes. It's crazy. I feel like I'm not even in reality sometimes. But, I know that I'm doing this, I'm pushing through, and I just feel like this is what I've been called to do in my life. And, whether I end up getting 1 million streams on my podcast or not, I know that I'm still doing amazing work and I'm still here making other people feel heard and feel seen. And that's all I ever wanted for myself. And so I'm happy to be able to do that for other people, through my podcast. So I appreciate Grown Up Family for tuning in. Y'all have been so dope, so amazing. I love y'all. Y'all are my rock solid fan base. Y'all have been supportive, been telling me that to keep going and all of that. So I really, really appreciate y'all. It's all love. And yeah, we gonna keep it going. We gonna keep it rocking with the Now segment. You know what I'm saying? I was actually supposed to do an interview with a brand new artist group, but unfortunately we had to reschedule. So I will most likely, I believe we're rescheduling for next week. So I will be playing one of their songs, and I'll be playing one of their songs after our interview. So we're going to be celebrating them this month, and the interview will be dropping the end of this month as well. So, and their music will be on our interview. That's kind of how we play this out. So I'm just going to add their links and everything in the description below. They are a brand new type of music style group that we have here on the podcast. So if you are interested and into electronic music, if that's something that you be bumping in your speakers, I highly suggest you check out this group called Equal Frequencies. They're actually in the UK, and they talk about, current events, news, things like that. They talk about essentially the real type of conversations that I say I have here on the podcast. They talk about it more in depth in their music. So check out their music, check them out, in the links, check them out in the description below. Click their links, and make sure you support their independent movement, and make sure you got your notifications turned on so that you're notified when our interview drops next week. Okay, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Y'all already know it's a Grown Up Podcast. I got some good quality episodes coming up for y'all, so please make sure you're staying tuned, you're staying subscribed. You already know my links will be in the description below for you to go and click them and follow me right away to stay up to date on the podcast. I drop a couple grown-up gems on the Grown Up Podcast on Instagram. So, follow me there. Follow me on my Twitter. I don't know if Twitter is going to be here or not within who knows how long, but for now at least, follow me on Twitter, and check me out. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. You already know. Stay safe, be kind, and we out.